Hi everybody, it's Brad from Big Family Homestead, and in this video we are talking food, emergency long-term storage food that you can get from any old regular grocery store. So let's get to it. It's hard for me to stress how important it is for everybody to have some long-term storable food on your shelves in case of an emergency, or maybe it's a financial thing and you're out of work, or you need to help out a neighbor. But having food on hand that you can just set on the shelf and not worry about it for years is an invaluable tool that I think every household needs to be prepared for. Now, one of the things about this list, I'm going to give you a list of several items that I think are absolutely important for you to have on hand, and some of the criteria I'm using to base this list with is that it's not going to be freeze-dried stuff that you can get from one of the the big suppliers of food that's like MREs. That's not this list. This list is going to be about stuff that you can go out to any old regular grocery store and pick up, and it's going to sit on your shelf for a long time. Now, and also in addition to that, I like to try to include single ingredient items, and by that what I mean is like one of the items that's on the list that I'll get to is, say, powdered milk. So I can do a lot of different things with powdered milk. It's not just oh, I bought blah and it's all this, it's just one thing. But with this one item, a single ingredient item, I can make many other things. And another one of the criteria for this particular list is that it's not going to be a crazy expensive item. That I think there's only two on the list that are kind of moderately pricey, well, they are there, and I included them, and you'll hear why. But generally, I like to keep this stuff to where the average family can go out and get a small stash of stuff that you just have there that will be able to sustain life or help somebody out. And so here we go, let's get to it. Okay, so the first item on our list, and these items are in no particular order, it's mainly just to keep me organized. And the first thing on the list is not going to make any fans out of health food nuts because it's really not healthy. It really will just sustain life, and that is ramen noodle soup. Now, this stuff is so cheap. I mean, I think they're like 15 cents per little brick, and even cheaper when you get it in the big pack. But that stuff lasts over 10 years. So for a very small amount of money, you can have a lot of food. Yeah, like I said, not a lot of nutritional value in there. So it's definitely not a good long-term solution. But for a very cheap amount of money, you can sustain life for a short amount of time without, you're gonna need some vitamins and stuff like that because ramen is ramen. All right, next up is coffee. And that's instant coffee or regular coffee. The regular coffee is going to last for a long time as long as you don't open it. Once you open that vacuum seal, it will go quickly. But instant coffee, if you can keep it dry, almost has an indefinite shelf life. And who doesn't want to have your frappuccino when the zombies are coming during the apocalypse? So got to have your frothy frappuccino ready to go. So make sure you get some instant coffee. If you like your coffee with cream, that means you're going to need some milk, powdered milk. Now, powdered milk has a very long shelf life. It is kind of expensive. It's a little more than regular milk that you would get from the refrigerated section. But think of all of the very important ingredient elements milk can fill. There's so many recipes that require milk, and so having some powdered milk that's, we actually go ahead and We've taken it out of its box and we've put it into vacuum sealed bags and then store them inside 5-gallon buckets so that mice and things can't get into it. And we're going to extend our shelf life a little bit just by having it into the vacuum sealed buckets. But milk is an absolute essential. Next up, to anyone who has actually made an effort to store some food, this is going to be an absolute no-brainer, and that is rice. Rice can be put into Mylar bags and in buckets, and it lasts for years, decades even. So it's so nice too because it's cheap, you can use it in a lot of different ways, and it stores for a long time. And to go along with that rice, you can get soy sauce. Now, soy sauce has an almost indefinite shelf life if you just don't open it up. But once you open it up, it's only gonna be good for a limited amount of time. But there you go, you can have your stir fry with the zombies and the frappuccino, and you'll just be happy, happy, happy. Next up, the ever popular dried beans. There's so many varieties, so many flavors. They offer a lot of nutritional oomph to your diet, and they stay for a long time. Now, one thing that's interesting about dried beans, and I don't know if this is happening where you live around the country, shoot a comment and tell me if you're noticing this too, but the Kroger store where we shop, they've basically cut their inventory of dried beans down to a very small section. It used to be at least 4 times what it is now, and they've basically been discounting them out the door. We've been making out because we're getting these massive, 2-pound bags of beans for 25 cents, which I'm happy about that, but I'm wondering if there's a bigger problem. Why is it just Kroger that's getting rid of all these beans and limiting their stock, or is it just this specific, whatever. Let me know if you guys notice anything like that. Next up is absolutely important for life, and that is salt. Humans cannot live without salt. Wars have been fought over salt. It was even used as a trading currency by the Romans in the past. Salt is very important, lasts a long time, and is super, super cheap. Get some salt, put it on the shelf. So next up is a fun one, and this will help keep the family happy in a weird type emergency situation, just something light and nice, and that is hot cocoa mix. Hot cocoa mix will stay for a long, long time on the shelf if you just keep it airtight. And who don't like hot cocoa? I mean, you gotta like hot cocoa. All right, next up is an ingredient that you can do a lot with, can be used in a lot of ways, and that is corn syrup. Corn syrup will last a long time on the shelf, and it's cheap. You can get it cheap, stick it on the shelf. Lots and lots of uses with corn syrup. Now, another item on the list is regular old white granulated sugar. Lasts forever, ever, well, not forever, but it lasts a really long time. But you've got to make sure that you don't get it wet. If there's any moisture, it's gonna become a brick and really hard to deal with. And besides, then it can mold and you just don't want it. So I did say that there were a few items on the list that were gonna be a little more costly, and these last 2 are those. Now, the first of the 2 is maple syrup. Now, the reason why it's expensive is because you can't get the Lego My Ego, you can't get Aunt Jemima, the stuff that's the cheap stuff. And the reason why is because it's not 100% maple syrup. The 100% maple syrup is more costly, but it has an almost indefinite shelf life. And it will, over time, it can crystallize, but it is still usable, still tastes great. So if you can afford maple syrup, you rock. And lastly is my personal favorite on the list, because I am a beekeeper and honey is my favorite thing. Honey is so great, and you can use it for so many things. Everything that you can use with sugar, honey is there too. It's just got so many uses, and it's got so many health benefits. So if you can afford to get you some honey for storage, once again, honey will also crystallize over time if it gets cool, but it's still good. Now, the honey that you get on the shelf, you've got to be careful, because there's a lot of knockoff honey happening in the world right now, and there's actually, I don't know, there's legislation trying to be passed to define what it exactly is, because there's a lot of people that are giving you honey light, and basically they're diluting it with like a corn syrup. But if you've got to make sure that it's 100% honey, and we prefer 100% raw honey, and that means that it has never been heated, so that you get the maximum health benefit out of your food. So there it is. There's a few items that I think that every household should get, because they're cheap. You can get them right at a regular old grocery store, and they can be used in several different ways. Now, I am sure, because everybody's list is different, right? These are just basic things that there's so much more that we have stored, but I just wanted to, get you guys thinking along the lines of, hey, I really should have something set aside. Now, That said, I would like to hear what you think are some cheap, off-the-shelf, long-term storage ideas. Put them in the comments down there or make a video, shoot it to me. I'd love to hear your ideas. Maybe they will make my list as well. These are just basics. You can get very complicated, but there you have it. I am Brad with Big Family Homestead, and you have an amazing day.